Hello everyone, thanks for stopping by my channel, Camping Family. Got my spring project lined up for this year. Thought I would go ahead and buy one of these hybrid heat, kind of gives you dual purpose LP or electric water heater conversion kits. Thought I'd go ahead and try one of these things out, try to save on some LP this year. Just seems like it'd be a great upgrade for the camper. So go ahead and do a little unboxing here. All I did was crack the back. Got this off of Amazon. There's another video out on YouTube where somebody got their warehouse deal, and this is exactly what this was one of those warehouse deals. This one was never even opened, so not bad at all. I think it was $10 off. So let's go ahead and unbox it. I'll give you some thoughts on how I've been thinking about doing it, and then we'll pick the video back up, do a second video on the installation process. So let's see what's in the box. Of course, doing this one-handed. Have to apologize, I'm fighting a little bit of cold here. So here's the way it is. Here's what comes in the box. Couple of zip ties. Of course, the heating element. Okay. Pretty short cable, if you ask me. Have to see. I may have to lengthen that a bit. Various other connector cables. Color coordinated. Temperature sensor. So that's all good. And there's the setting on it. So yeah, it's still set at the default, about 120-ish Fahrenheit. Okay. This is the toggle switch, the on-off switch. Okay. Alright, looks good. Various adapters. And they even give you some Teflon tape. Very cool. Alright. Self-explanatory there. They give you your 3-prong 120. Alright. And another connector cable. So this all runs off of 120. Not much to it. Wow. I'm very impressed. So, yeah. So now the biggest question of this install is how to supply power. Looks very straightforward. So let's go look at what I'm thinking about here. Alright. Apologize for the mess in here yet. Hasn't even been cleaned, so we're just basically just started loading stuff back in here. Alright, so let's go on and show you what I'm thinking about power. So here's the water heater. Right here. Standard Atwood water heater. So here's the grommet, which is where we'll feed the cable through. Very straightforward. There's the drain plug, which I do not have on tight. Obviously there's water coming out. So that's that. Now, power. I've got this right here. So I've got a 120 right here that I think I'm going to use to tie in. So my thought is, take off this, get to the wires. I'm going to grab about 3 feet of cable, and I'm going to tie it in behind here and feed it inside. Let's go on inside and I'll kind of show you what I'm looking at inside. Because there isn't much to see out here. So if we go back in, that power is about 4 or 5 inches away from the heater. So let's go underneath here. Move everything out of the way. Let me get my little can light here. Little can light. Alright. Here's my water heater. As you can see, temperature sensor will mount here easily. I mean, I literally just need to take off another little section of that and I will have no problems getting to that. On this side, you can see where that hose comes in from the LP. And I'm just going to bring in that red cable right through the grommet, which will give me access to that area. Straightforward and simple. For the power, let me see if I can get this camera back in there. Nice thing about using the selfie stick. So right back there is where we're going. Right back there. That's where that's accessible. Now the power is like 5 inches away from that end. So what I was thinking about doing was, while I have that receptacle off, take like a 1-inch drill bit and then just drill right into here, which will put me right behind that red hot water feed line. That in essence should bring me right into here. And if I have about 3 feet of I'm thinking about just using like direct bury cable, but I've got plenty of interior rated 120 lines. I'm just going to bring that in here, and I think I'm going to just mount a receptacle right here in the wall, and I'm just going to plug it in. So I'll just mount a power receptacle right to this wall, and then I can plug in the 120 plug right into the receptacle. I think that's probably the best way to do this. Now, as far as worrying about short circuits due to water down here, that exterior receptacle is a GFCI off of the main breaker panel. So I think I'm still covered, even with me being this close to this water, just because that's a GFCI anyway. So that's kind of what I'm looking at. I'm just going to mount a power receptacle right here on the inside and then plug into it. I think that's just the easiest way to do this. So anyway, that's kind of what we're looking at. Pretty straightforward if you ask me. The biggest question was, where am I going to grab power from? And I tossed around the idea of adding a 15 amp breaker, running new cable underneath the coach right to a new receptacle. Because I've got 2 open breaker slots here. I could just throw in another 15 amp breaker and just give it a dedicated, but it would have to be GFCI, and I don't even know if I want to go down that route. So then I got to feed the cable underneath, which isn't a big deal. It's just very time consuming. I think using the back of that exterior power receptacle is probably the easiest way to mount this thing and get power to the new heating element. That's what I'm looking at. So stay tuned for the next video. So this project just got very easy, very easy. So I was thinking about it, and I thought, you know what? Instead of drawing power from here, hey Munchkin, there she is right there.
Hello.
Thought, I've got power here, right behind the refrigerator. So I looked here, and I do have power, but it's only one receptacle. Okay, that makes it real easy. Take this off, put in a 2-prong receptacle, 2 outlets, and I've got power. Now I just need to take it back to the inside the coach, or inside the camper. So I looked, and I've got a hole right here. I drilled a hole right there, and I figured that's got to be close to where I'm going by that water heater. So I drilled a hole, and as you can see, my cable fed right into that hole, no problem. But let me show you where that hole comes into. I got so lucky. So come in the camper, turn down my radio, pop on my can light here. Come down here. Look where that thing came through. Right there. Piece of cake. So here's my cable. Right there. If I can focus. So yeah, easy. Right there was the hole. So now I can proceed. But I will put in that outlet first. But this project just got very easy. No need to do any of the other customizations with mounting that other junction box or anything like that. I already fed it through the hole and just used the receptacle right behind the refrigerator. Very cool. So yeah, continuing on with the project. So this is rather unique. So I took this off, and it just uses these little plastic foldable tabs to secure it. Got to figure out how to open this thing up. But this is just mounted to a very flimsy piece of wood. So not sure what I'm going to do with that yet. But this is about as cheap as they get. What's it say here? Oh, by the way, I turned off the power. To open device, to press latch buttons through square holes inside of body. Okay, so I guess I just got to clip those, huh? Alright. So I guess what I'm going to do is just go ahead and I've got a junction. I got a gang box. It's a little metal gang box. I might just go ahead and mount that. Do it that way. That's the plan. Interesting. Always something, huh? Always something. Alright, so I managed to get off that back plate. That was a pain in the butt. But inside, it's just a mat. It just uses compression fittings. These are all just compressed in there. So we'll take everything out, strip them down, and we'll attach the new receptacle. Alright. Always something, like I said. Interesting stuff. Alright, a little more progress. Mounted my box on here. I just ended up taking this. There was another screw down here. I took it out and just mounted it to this wood. It's solid. It's not going anywhere. So we'll bring my cables in right here. I've got my new receptacle right here. That'll go right in there. And I'll put the cover on. Bada bing, bada boom. So that's the next step. Moving along. Okay. So the outlet is in. Yes, it is. So I put my junction box in. Hooked up my cabling. Got the 2 outlets now, and I've got a wire tester on there. And okay, so I goofed. I mounted the receptacle here, and guess what? My panel wouldn't go on. So there's a standoff here. These fins come out probably a good inch. Couldn't get the door on. So re-engineered this. I put a little like 1x maybe 3 in the back, little piece of 1x3, and mounted that, kind of sandwiched it in. And this is a much more secure receptacle than I had before anyway. So it was actually better off that I did it this way, and I can actually get my door shut, no issues, and this thing is solid as a rock. So I'm actually much happier now. But yep, I goofed, so that cost me about 15 minutes on the install. So that's one thing to make sure you can get your door on there before you figure out where you're going to mount it. Alright, moving on. Alright, so the outside is complete. Gotten a lot done here. So we've got the 1/2-inch hole drilled, used the grommet to feed through the wiring. Got this all tested now. We got the water tank filling now. You can just hear it a little bit, but no drips. So we're in good shape. Everything is looking really good. And I was thinking next fall, I need to drain a tank, just loosen this outer nut here and pull the element out. That should, in theory, do it. So I think we're good on the outside. All right, time for the inside. All right, so according to the instructions, the next thing we do is mount the thermostat. And on this particular model that I have, there's no adhesive on the back of it. They give it to you on this double-sided tape here. So next step is take care of this thermostat. I'm going to go ahead and look at the hot water tank. And I'm just going to take off some of that styrofoam there. I think you have to make a 3x5 area. I've got my X-Acto knife right here, handy dandy X-Acto knife, and I'm just going to clear a place, and they recommend you use some alcohol, clean off any oil or anything that's on the side of the tank, just so it's a clean, the sticky tape adheres good. So that's what we're doing next, folks. Oh, we are ready to go here. Double-sided tape, just peeled it off. I cleaned it off with, actually didn't have some alcohol handy, so I used Windex. And it was pretty dirty, so cleaned off both surfaces, both on the back of the thermostat and on the back of the water tank. Cleaned them both off, dried them with another paper towel, and I've got a good seal here, so everything is solid as a rock. I've been holding that on there for about 30 seconds or so, and it's not moving at all. So I've got a really good seal on that. So I'm very pleased. So I've got, simply now, my connections are down here, and I need to figure out where I want to mount the switch. And I think that's where we're at. So I might just mount the switch on the back of this panel and just have it in one of the corners. But I'm kind of worried about taking the panel off when I need to do maintenance on the water heater, you know, to turn off the valves and such. So I think there's enough cable, it's not going to be a problem. But I just kind of want to see if this is exactly where I want to put it. But I want the switch somewhere where we can see that it's on. I want it easily seen, because I don't want to ever forget that this thing might be on at some point. So that's where I'm at, where to put the switch. Got all the connections made. Everything's been made here. The biggest challenge I have now is where's the true ground. I've got it kind of just sitting on the stove right now, but I have no idea what's a chassis ground in here. I'm not even sure what I could tie into. So I would think that the stove would be somewhat of a ground, but I'm not sure. I've got a ground wire there, but I don't want to bust into the stock ground wires. But I might just ground it to the stove. I think that would be grounded. But I don't know how it's going to get to the frame. So I might just make a little... I might just ground it to the stove for now. But I think I'm to the point where I can actually turn on and try it out. I just got to watch, because this is all 120. This isn't 12 volt. All these connections are 120, 15 amps, so that's all live 120 power. You got to really be careful with this installation. This is not 12 volt. So I'm going to go ahead and power it up and see what we get. Alright, here goes nothing. Now I got to be careful not to touch this. I've just plugged it in and outside. Here goes nothing. Alright, nothing blew up yet. We'll let it run for like 10 minutes while I try to figure out where to mount this switch. And we'll go from there. Alright, so it's, as far as I know, it's on. It is now officially 1:52, about 1:53 in the afternoon. So we'll let it run for like 10 minutes and see if I get any warm water. That should tell me while I figure out how to mount the switch. Alright, so I mounted the switch. I ended up mounting the switch up here. Very easily seen. Anyone walking in here will definitely see that that light is on. I don't ever want there to be a time where we don't know what the status of that water heater is, because if there's no water in there, it could definitely damage the heating element. So my wife and I are definitely going to have to get in the habit of checking the status of that water heater, just so we always know that there's water in the tank if that thing's on. But I love it. Great place for it. I went ahead, since these are 120 connections back here and not 12 volt, I wrapped the connections in the back with electrical tape, just so we don't well, I guess two reasons. One, it keeps the connections tight, which they were anyway, and two, it just keeps your fingers off of those connectors if any wire would ever be exposed. So not an issue anymore. But that's where I ended up putting the switch. Great, I think it's a great spot. And back down here to the install, put the cover plate back on. I tied up some of the cabling. It could be a little neater, but I don't get in here and just, the only reason I ever get in here is just to move the settings on the pipes there, you know, to do the winterization. So I'm not really worried about it. I did do a zip tie on the 120 line just to that pipe, just to keep it away from the shelf. So no issue there. And I did end up getting a good ground. So I ended up grounding it back outside. And I'll take you out here in a second here, and I'll show you where I grounded it. But that's where we're at. So we'll put my cover back on. And everything still looks stock here. Nothing's changed, which is good. Just the way I like it. Didn't have to drill any holes in this or anything like that. Alright. So now outside, we'll show you where that ground came in. So I ended up grounding the wire. I brought it back out through the grommet, and then there was a ground here for the heater itself. It must have been the ground for this electrical equipment here. So I just tied it into that ground right there. It was good enough for that, it's good enough for this. So good to go. No leaks. Got my panel back up there. Got the hot water on now. So good to go. I did run a test on the hot water. I actually did some dishes. So it heats up in about an hour. It's usable in about an hour. I don't think it's at the 120 in an hour, but you can definitely take a shower in an hour's time frame, and that's coming from cold tap water, because it's I'm sure the water was, well, we're still in the 30s at night, so the water's still cold. I'm running it off of my fresh water tank right now. I don't have it hooked up to the city connection, so the water's cold, and it took about an hour to get it to a shower temperature, and probably about an hour and a half before it was good 120 till you do dishes. But I'm thrilled. I'm absolutely thrilled. That should substantially cut down on our gas. Yep, for sure. Yep. Alright everybody, thanks for watching this video on the installation of the Camco hybrid heat hot water element. I don't think there's a part number on here, but I'll put it in the description. But yeah, yeah, I don't see a part number. But I give it a. So far, I'm thrilled. I give it 5 out of 5. I'm ecstatic with it. Easy to install. The two concerns are getting your power, getting a 120, and then that ground was kind of one that threw me for a loop. But everything else was just as it spells it out here, just as it spells it out. So if you're looking to invest in one of these for the whatever it was, $69.95 or $79.95 on Amazon, so far I'm saying it's worth every penny. So good luck, and again, thanks for watching.